Welcome, and this video will cover how to use Elementor, the page builder, and it will also cover the difference between WordPress and Elementor, because when I first started, that was one thing that I found very confusing. And we'll look over the WordPress dashboard and backend, so we get to learn that. The basic and advanced Elementor settings, including global settings, responsive design, and performance options. Elementor styling, which includes fonts, colors, and brand identity, and then setting those fonts and colors as global fonts so that if you change your brand, you can change it in one place instead of your whole website on each page. Then we'll look at optimizing your website performance with Elementor at the beginning when you're creating a website. We'll also look at using Elementor's containers and widgets and the different theme builder layouts they have, and making sure our design is responsive on desktop, tablet, and mobile. And the last thing we'll be doing is building a demo website with a homepage, about page, and a contact page. So let's jump right in. So what I've got here is a default installation of WordPress, brand new, nothing on there. And yours might look a little bit different depending on what year you're doing this. I'm doing this in 2024, and this is the 2024 WordPress default theme. But if yours looks different, that's fine. Now, one thing that I was very confused about when I first started with Elementor was what is the difference between WordPress and Elementor? I like to think of WordPress as the base of your website. It's where all the pages and posts and images are stored. It also has its own design options, but they are very limited compared to Elementor. Whereas Elementor is called a page builder, and it is a visual drag and drop editor. So you can think of it easily as WordPress is the canvas if you're doing a painting, and you need the canvas to paint, but you can't do much with just a canvas. Whereas I like to think of Elementor as the paint and WordPress as the canvas. All right, so let's jump right in and have a look at our WordPress dashboard. To log into your WordPress dashboard, what you have to do is go to your domain name, which will be at the top of your browser. So in my case, my domain is sparedomainname.com/Elementor because I'm doing this on a subdomain. So that's why I've got this / here. What we'll do is we'll copy that, and then in a new tab, we'll put that in and we'll paste. And you're gonna make sure there's a slash, and then we'll do WP for WordPress and then -admin. And that should take you to this login screen here, which you can enter your login details. Once you've done that, click on login, and this is your WordPress dashboard. So the WordPress dashboard, again, is the base where everything will live, all of your files, and you can manage users and your themes and plugins. And on the left side is the dashboard menu. So there's the main dashboard, there's any articles or posts you've put up, any photos or videos or PDFs is in the media, and then pages is where you'll add your home, about, or contact page. And then if you've got any comments on any pages or posts, they'll be stored in this area here. And you can manage your themes with this appearance section and plugins here. And you can manage users and look at different tools WordPress offers. And then all of your settings will be under this settings option here. We'll go through these during the video as well, but the main ones we'll be looking at will be media, pages, appearance and plugins, and settings. So it's all a bit overwhelming to start with, but over time you'll get used to this. But this is the general WordPress layout. So I'm going to go ahead and install Elementor and Elementor Pro. Now in this video, I will be using Elementor Pro, but most of the things I cover you'll be able to do without Elementor Pro. And there's always a workaround. So there's other plugins that will let you use lots of the Elementor Pro features. And there's always some sort of workaround if you don't want the Pro version. So to start off, to do this, I will go on this left bar to plugins. And I'm actually going to click on add new plugin here. And I'm going to search for Elementor. And then click on install next to this one here by elementor.com. And then activate the Elementor plugin. I'm now going to log into myelementor.com or my.elementor.com to download the Pro version that we own. And once you've downloaded that, you can go back to this plugins page, click on Upload Plugin, choose a file, and then put in that plugin file you've downloaded and click on Install. And then once you see this screen here, click on Activate Plugin. And you can see now I have Elementor and Elementor Pro installed on my website. So with the Pro version, I'm also going to activate it by going to this Connect and Activate link, and then signing in with my account details. Once you've signed in, you can click on this Activate My License button, and that should link your Elementor Pro account. Now, the first thing that I like to do once I've got Elementor installed is I like to set my global settings for my Elementor website. So you can start off by setting your WordPress settings in this Settings tab at the bottom left, and you can go through and add a title and site icon and settle your general WordPress settings in here, and then clicking on Save Changes if you change anything. Then I'm also going to quickly install the Hello theme, which is a theme made by Elementor, and it's pretty much a blank canvas. Now you can install whatever theme you like, and it's worth noting that some won't be compatible with Elementor. So I recommend sticking to one that is if you're going to use Elementor. So to do this, go to the Appearance section and then Themes. And then you can see we're using the 2024 theme. So we'll click Add New and we'll search here for Hello, and you can see it's right there. So we'll click on Install and then we'll activate that one. And now if we go to our website and I refresh this page, you'll see it's all changed to a blank canvas. So for this example video, I'm going to copy a random website that I've found, which in this case was a Brisbane electrician. And I'm not going to copy it exactly, but I will show you the general layout and styling and how you can do something similar like this website here. So first things first, what I'll do is we'll start off with the very top of the website, which is the header here, which is this section with the logo and menu. To edit the header, we will hover over the templates option here on the left side and then click on Theme Builder. Now you can see it's given us all the site parts like header, footer, post and page, and an archive. So we'll click on plus in this header option, and it automatically gives us an option to choose a template. Now I highly recommend picking a template if you find one you like here, and then you can click on Insert onto the page and it will insert the header here. But for this example, I want to show you how to actually use Elementor. So I'm not going to do this. I'm going to close out of this. And you can see we have a blank canvas here. So this is what the Elementor editor will look like. On the left side here are all of our widgets that we can use on our page or header. And then on this white section here, this is what our preview of the website looks like. And then this navigator here, will show you that later when there's some blocks on the page. But this is like a table of contents for all of the elements you're using. Now our header section will be in this top area here. So we can ignore all of these headings and information here because this is the default Elementor theme. To add our header, we have Elementor uses a layout option called containers. Containers are what will be in your actual editor. So you can see on this left side in the widgets panel, there's a container option. A container is pretty much the housing of all the widgets, and it's how you can manage your layout. So this here is a blank container with nothing in it. And if we wanted to add a widget, what we could do is we could click this plus button and that will add a brand new container for us. And then you can select between Flexbox and Grid. Now I find Flexbox you'll use for almost all cases, so we'll click on that for the demo. And then it will give you a whole bunch of template ideas. So there's a single full width one that goes in a column, and then there's a full width one that's a row, and then there's two halves, etc. If we go back to our demo website here, I'll try to explain what we're looking at here. So in our case, this would be one container here, this top white header, and then this would be a second one. So you can see that this dividing line here makes it nice and easy to tell that they're two individual ones. And if we looked at it in the perspective of a column or a row, this one here would be a row because they're all in a line, and this one would also be in a row. Whereas something like this, all the text here isn't in one long line, so it would probably be a column. So we'll start off with our header and go back to our editor. And remember, we have 2 rows. So the top one looks like is a logo on the left side and then 2 buttons on the right. So what we'll do is we'll go back and we'll select the same kind of layout, which is most likely this one here, which has a little bit of space on the left and then more space on the right side. Now we could probably use this one here as well. So you take your pick between them, but I'm going to use this one in the demo. And you can see that's already given us a pretty good layout. We'll also click this plus button again and Flexbox, and we will select this one here. And now you can see we have our general layout of the logo and the buttons and then the menu below it. So logo, buttons, and then menu below it. And before we get started actually designing our header here, what we'll do is we will edit our global settings. So these are settings that will appear over your entire site. And that way, instead of editing, say for example, a font on every page, you can edit it in the global settings, and then it will go over your whole website, and you just have to edit it in the one place. We'll publish this for now. This is the publish button to save your changes and push them to your live website. And because this is the header that we're editing, it will ask us where we want to display our template. So we'll click on add condition, and then you can make different headers for different pages if you wanted to, but in general, you'll only need the one. So we'll include it on the entire website. That's what this is saying. But if, for say example, you wanted to exclude it on a landing page, you could click on add condition and then exclude, and then you could actually select the page. We don't have any pages, but that's how you can do that. Then click on this save and close button. Now when we go to our website and refresh, you can see our header up here disappeared above this archives. To edit our global styles, what we'll do is we will go to the 3 lines in the top left. It brings us to a menu, and we'll select Site Settings. This has brought us to a new menu with global colors, fonts, and a whole bunch of other options. So we'll quickly go in here and add our brand colors and fonts. Once we clicked on that global colors option, it's brought us to a whole page here that will show the default colors and the default fonts. For this demo video, I'm going to emulate this website here and use their colors and fonts. But if you've got your own business colors, I would put them in here, and I'll show you how to do that. Once you've got your fonts and your colors, what you can do is you can come back to this page here, and you can see that it's already got these default primary, secondary, text, and accent. And to edit these, you click on the little hex icon here with the color in it. And you can manually pick your color by using the drop here, or you can paste in your hex code. So paste in your hex code and then just click off and do that for the rest of these here. And then if you have more colors than the default ones, what you can do is you can add a color and you can actually name these ones. I have a light gray color that I'm going to put in. So you can name it whatever you want, and then click on the little square here and paste in your hex code, and you can add as many colors as you like there. I would focus on your main 5 to 10 brand colors and add those in there, and then click on this update button here, and that will save your colors across your website. Next, we'll do the fonts. To do that, we will head back using that back arrow and click on global fonts. Now again, these are the fonts on your website that will be used across the whole site. And to edit these, you can click on the little pencil icon and you can set the font family. And I think this is only Google fonts, but there's heaps there as you can see. And the size, the weight, and any different styling options. So I'm going to click on add style just for a demo. Click on this family option and find your font and set a size. And you can switch between pixels and a whole bunch of different sizing options. And then once you're finished editing, you can click on the pencil icon again, and you can see my custom font is down here. I'll do that again just for 2 more fonts. I've added a few different heading options here, and click on the update button. And again, this will all be saved. So we'll click on the back arrow to go back to our main settings. Now you can continue to go through and edit the typography buttons and images and different options here by clicking in on them. And then you can set the default colors and text for your whole website. So if you want all your links to be this blue color, you can click on that, and you can go through and edit those options there. For now, I'm going to leave all of these settings here, except I will come back now and I will change this site identity option. So click on site identity, and this is where you can set your website name and your logo and favicon. So your favicon is the icon that will show in the browser on your tab when you're searching on your website. To add your logo and favicon to your site, click on the plus button here under site logo, and then it will bring you to the media uploads page, and click on select files, and then find where you keep your brand files on your computer and select it. Click on select again down here. Then we'll also add our site favicon by doing the same thing, clicking plus, and then up here select upload files, select files, and your favicon. Select, and then click on the update button. So now that we have our details here, when we create our header, they should automatically input our logo on there. So click the back arrow again. Another option that I also like to check is this layout here. So this is the default width for when you add a new container on your page, like I showed before. The default is 1140. Now you can leave this if you want, but I like to make it slightly bigger to something like 1200, but whatever suits you, it doesn't really matter. And then select update, and that should change your default container width now. So you can now click on the cross, which will take you back to your last editor, which was the header. So now we are back on our header page where we were editing our header. If we remember back to our design, we wanted the logo and the 2 buttons, and then the menu on this one here. So to put in our logo, you can see we have a container here. On the left currently are all of our widgets, which are the different elements we can use. But then if I were to put in an element, so if I was to drag in our logo into the box, you can see it puts our logo there, but now this widget panel has changed. So this widget panel is now editing just this element, so just our logo, and there's a whole bunch of settings for this. So there's the content section, the styling section, and the advanced section. This is all a bit hard to remember, but it is useful once you've learnt it. And your content section will be where you can edit the main parameters of your logo or the widget you're editing. So if you were to edit a text box, it will show the text you've entered here, but in this case, it's our site logo. With the logo, we can change the image resolution, and you can see that resizes it there. And then this style tab manages the styles of this individual widget. We can change the width by dragging this here. You can change where it's aligned using that alignment option, and you can change the height, the opacity, and you can also add a border. So if you wanted a border around your logo, you can do that by clicking the drop down and selecting a border type, and then you can enter how big your border is. Another cool thing you can use with this style tab is the option here for a box shadow. So if I just remove this border, you can see that's gone now. What we can do is we can add a shadow to our logo. So if you click on this box shadow pencil, you can see it's added a shadow around our logo. So this is all a bit more advanced, but it is useful in the future if you want to do more custom styling options. But for now, I will just close out of all of this and revert it back to default by clicking this back there. The next option here is the advanced editor. So if we click on that, this gives us an option to edit the margin, padding, the width again, and then any alignment options and sizing. And it also has more options here like custom CSS. This can be helpful if you know a bit of code and you want to change it with CSS. This responsive option that lets you hide an element, say on the desktop version of your website or the mobile version. And it also has border and background options. So again, it's a bit more advanced as it says, but it is worth learning over time and practicing with because it is definitely useful when building a website. I'm just going to quickly change my logo so it has a transparent background, and then I will continue with the next steps. So we've got our logo on the page here. The next thing I would say to add would be the two buttons here. As you can see, they've got a button and then a call now text. So what we'll do is we will go back to our editor and click on the plus where we're going to add the items. And that brings us these widgets here. So they first had a button. So we can search in this field for button. And Elementor has a button widget. Now to move the widget into the box, we simply click on it and drag. And then you can see this purple line. And wherever that purple line is where your element will go. So our button will go in this box here. Now, if we go back to their website, their button is on the bottom right side and it's centered in line here. So we'll go back to ours, and to make it so all of the elements are centered in the middle or aligned in the middle, what we'll do is we will click on the three options here. So these three options are, you can add a new container. If you click on that plus on the purple option, it will add a container above, just like we have down here. And then the second one here is simply to pick up the container. So if we click on that and hold, we can now move the whole container somewhere else. So if I wanted to put it below this other one, it's now moved below. And then this one here is to delete the whole container here. So if we click on that, it will delete our container. Now, Elementor is really cool. It keeps a history of what you edit. So let's say you accidentally deleted your container. What you can do is you can come down and there's this little back arrow history option. If we click on that down the bottom left, then you can see it says, it brings up all of our changes. So if we click on this latest one before our current one, it brings back our work. So to align the items to center, we'll click on the drag and select container one. Our editing panel here is now editing the container. So you can tell that because the purple line around the box here, and also because if I click on something else, it says edit and then it's got the item I've selected. So if I edit our container, it says container. Now to make all of the items align to the center, what we'll do is we'll click on this layout option and then select under the align items, we will select center. And you can see our button jumps down into the center. Now, if we go back to the demo website, you can see their button is on the right side and not near their logo. So what we'll do is we'll go back and click on our button, and then under the styling of the button this time, we'll click on this style, and now we can align the button left, center, or right. So we'll select right, and that has put our button on the right side. Now this website has a second option here, which looks like some kind of icon or button. So on our website, I will go back to the Elementor search, and you can do that at any time by clicking these 9 dots. And then search for icon. They have an icon box option. So we'll drag that just under our button here, and you can see there's a purple line where it's going to be placed. Now we want ours to be in one line, and you can see this is in a row, but then this container here is in a column. So they're stacked on top of each other. So to change this, we'll select the column that the button and the icon box are in. And you can see we can do that by clicking this little gray option here, and that selects, it highlights this whole container. And what we'll do now is instead of having it as a column, we'll change this to a row. And it still looks a bit ugly, but we'll fix this in a minute. But now it's in a line again. So now if we click on our icon box, and then we click on the styling options, we can change the style of just the icon box. I'm going to change the icon to be on the left, which is more like their little phone icon. And then they've got a small heading and a big text. So I'll change the alignment of the icon as well to be in the center like theirs. Then under the content settings down here, I will change our title, and we can change the text under this typography setting. So we can use one of our global setup headings by clicking on this little globe for the global, and that will bring up all of our options. So we can click on the ones we created, and this means that if we change that global one in the settings at any time, it will update over the entire site. In general, it's best practice to use global headings and typography and colors, because that way if you ever make a brand change and change your logo, you can change it all at once instead of going through each page and changing it. But in this case, I don't actually have one that matches well. So what you can do is you can click on this pencil icon, and that will edit the current one that it's on. So what I'll do is I'll set this to be a smaller option. And then because I'm going to use this again later on our website, I will actually save this as a global. Now we don't have to go back into our settings and click all the saving options. Instead, we can click on this plus here that says create new global font, and then you can name it and click create. This is now under the global option, which is why it's highlighted pink. And it means that if we update that later, it will update up here. The next thing they have is their phone number is actually a lot bigger than the heading. So we'll come back, and this is where the phone number will be. So we'll change that to be a lot bigger too. Now, this currently looks really ugly. So I will quickly change the text by going to the content section of our box. And then the title is this section here. And the description here is this here. So I'll just copy what they've done that says call now and then put in a phone number. So I'll put the call now in this top box and then the phone number in the description here. Ours is currently looking very spread out and it takes up a lot of space. So what I'll do here is I'll style our icon box by clicking on style, and then under this content spacing, we can set that to 0. And you can see now the gap there has become a lot smaller. So if we go back to our demo website, we can see we've made some good progress comparing the two, but again, we want our icons to be aligned and on the right. I think when I changed my logo, I forgot to save it, but to change it so they're aligned again, we'll click on the container that houses both of the things here, and we'll align them to center. And then, because we want them on the far right side, we will click on this justify content to the end. Now you can see this is looking much more similar to theirs with the logo and the two buttons. Our logo is very large, so to change that, what we can do is on the logo, click on the pencil icon, and now we are editing the logo settings. And you can change the image size here, or you can change under the style tab, you can set the image width. So I'm just going to set mine as 250 as an example. I will change my button text as well by clicking on the button, a little pencil, and then under the content option is where you'll edit all the text. So you can see the text is there, and you can add a link to where your button will go. So you can link that to a page like your contact page, but currently we don't have any pages. So I'll leave that blank for now. And it's not quite the same, but you get the general idea of what we're doing here. So what I'll do is I'll move on to this menu section here with the blue background. To do something like this, we've already added our container. Before we get started, I'll just click on update so our changes are saved. And to create the blue background effect, we'll edit the main container here by clicking on the 3 lines when we hover over. And you can see that's highlighted our container. Then we'll click on style. So under the styling is where you'll usually find all the colors and fonts. So we want to add a background color. So to add a background color, we have this background drop down here. And then you can add a whole bunch of different types of backgrounds. So classic, which is a color or an image. Gradient, which is a gradient of colors. We can add a video background or a slideshow. For this example, they have a blue background behind this bar here. So we'll go back to the classic option, and then we can select a color with the dropper, or we can use our global one. So I'm going to click on the global option and select our blue. And then I'm going to put in a menu here. So to do that, we'll click on our 9 dots again and search for menu. This WordPress menu here, when we set up our menu, it will have all of our pages. Now, if we click on update and go back to our website front end, then if we refresh our page, you can see we now have a header here with a logo, the button and the icon box here. And then once our menu is in here, it will make this blue bar a little bit bigger. If we compare that to our demo site, it's very similar. If we were to quickly change this icon to a phone, what we could do is to click on it. That brings us to the settings again. Select content, and that's our icon. So let's change the icon by clicking on it and then searching for something like phone, and select your icon and click insert. Then again, just click on update down here. So now that we have a header, the next thing I actually like to do is the very bottom of the website, which will be the footer. So the footer, if I go to our demo website and scroll to the bottom, is this section here. So it can look different depending on your website desires, but this is what most footers will have: a logo, some sort of links, some contact information, and then maybe some sort of badges, trust badges in them. So it doesn't have to be exactly like this one, but that's the general idea. To change, to edit our footer, instead of editing the header section, which is what we are in now, what we'll do is we will click on our 3 lines and theme builder again. And now you can see that we have a header. So our header's there, and the green icon there means that it's live. And to add a footer, if we click on this footer here, you can see there's no templates, so we'll add a new one on the right here. Now, again, I recommend choosing a footer template here if you find one you like. But for this example, because I'm showing you how to edit the website, I will hit the cross and create our own. So again, you can ignore the area here. You won't actually see that on the website, and you can see our headers now there, which is nice. And if we have a look at our demo site, their footer is made up of 1, 2, 3, 4 columns and then 1 row at the bottom. So we'll go back to ours and we will click the plus button here and flexbox, and then we will select the 4 columns there. And then below that, there was a row. So we'll click the plus again, flexbox, and then the 1 row. Now their footer is blue, so you can change it or leave it as you like, but I'm going to make ours blue as well. To make the whole container here blue, remember we click on the little selector icon, and you can see we're editing the container now. And because it's a color, it will probably be under styles. The background is what we want to change, so we'll make it a color by clicking the little paintbrush and then selecting the global and our blue. And another really cool thing about Elementor is instead of going through all those steps again, if we wanted to make this one here blue, what we can do is we can right click the little selector icon and select this copy option. And now we can right click the one that's blank. There is a paste and a paste style. So if we click on paste, it will just paste the exact container here with the 4 icons, but instead we only want the styles, so the blue background. So if we click on paste style, you can see we get that blue background automatically. I'll just add a few elements in this footer. I'll be adding the logo, these icons, and then some links and contact details, and then some badges in our one. The first section we look at is the logo and icons. So in this section here, we'll put our site logo by going to our 9 dots and then searching or finding the logo, dragging that in. And again, you can change the sizing and the resolution and everything by clicking on style, but I'm going to leave ours as is. Now, social icons, we can search for social, and you can see there's a social icons pack. So if we click and drag them below our logo here, that has put them just below. Now on the demo website, it's on the left side, whereas ours are currently in the middle. There's an alignment option here, and if we click on left, you can see that has put them on the left side. Now another thing the demo website has is they're all this white color with the blue icon, whereas ours are the default social media colors. To change that, we can go to the styling tab because it's a color, and they actually have an option here for official color or custom. So if we click on custom, and then we can change the primary color. So if I change the primary color, you can see that that is the background. So let's change our primary color to be the white. Now we can't really see the actual icon. So let's change that by changing the secondary color to be our blue. And just like that, we now have blue and white social icons. Their icons are round. So if we wanted to replicate that as well, you can use this styling option here. And to change how round an icon is, you use the border radius. So if we set that to 100, it will make it a full circle. And if you set that to say 5, it would be a square with slightly circled off edges. There's a full circles, we'll do 100, and that creates fully rounded icons. Now the next section is the site links. What we'll do is we'll go back to ours, and just above their links here, they have a heading to explain what the section's about. We'll do the same. We'll do a heading and then the links. Search in our widgets here for heading. This heading you can't actually see because it's the same color as the background, but we'll fix that in a minute. Change the heading to be whatever you want your heading to say. And then under this style option, you can see our color is blue. Let's change that to be white. And now we can see our heading. And if we wanted to change our heading to look like a different style, again, you can use your custom fonts, or you can use a global one, like our small font we created before. Under their heading, they have the menu items. We don't currently have a menu or any pages, so I'll put in our menu by clicking on the 9 dots and then this WordPress menu again. Make sure you drag it underneath the heading. And then once we create a menu, we'll be able to edit that. Instead of redoing what we've just done for these two, what we can actually do is we can right click the gray icon here and select duplicate. And you can see now we've got 5 different containers. So we'll delete one and we're back to our 4. And we'll do that again and delete one again. And now all 4 of our containers are filled with this. The demo website, the next one, had popular services. I've just updated these headings here for something else. And I will replace the menu, because we don't want 3 menus, down here by deleting that, right-clicking, and then delete. And I'm going to drag in a text editor. Make sure that's below the heading. Then you can enter some text in this section here, and you can also bold the text and underline it if you like. This text is really hard to read. So if we click on our styling to change the color and select a white again, it's a lot easier to read. Last, they have some contact details with some icons. When I was adding our icon box up here, I remembered that there was an icon list, which is very similar to this. So what we'll do is we'll delete the menu from the contact section by right-clicking it and clicking the delete button. Then you can see that's disappeared. So to add our icon list here, we'll search for icon, and there's an icon list. We'll click and drag under the contact us heading. Now these are really hard to see, so again we'll style them by going to style. We'll click on the icon settings and we'll change them to orange. The text is this gray here. We'll change that by clicking on the text settings, and the color we can set to white. So that's a pretty good default footer for now. And of course you would go in and you would edit the content of all of these items. But for this demo, I'm not going to worry about that. At the very bottom of their footer, they have these badges. We have this section here. So what we'll do is we'll go back to our 9 dots and we will search for an image and we'll drag and drop that into this bottom box here. That doesn't look right. That takes up the whole thing. You can then choose an image, and I'm just going to put in a demo one here. And you can see that's now put the image in this bottom section here, but it is too big and it's on the wrong side. What we can do is we can style the image. We will make it, say, 15% of its original size, and then we can align it to the center. So if I click this center align here, that doesn't align it where we want. And this is because our container here is probably aligned to the left. That means that any element in this container here will be on the left side. So even though I've aligned our image to the center in the image settings, it doesn't align it in the container. To fix this, we will click on the container settings as a whole. Then if we justify the content here to the center, you can see our image goes to the middle. Now if we click on publish, and then because it's a footer, we can decide if we want to put it on our whole site or only on a few pages. So click on add condition, entire site, and then save and close. Now when we go back to our website and refresh the page, you can see we also have a footer. One thing that I like about their website is they have a little separating line on the footer. So to create that separation line, we can use a border for this whole container here, the big one. Click on the selector for the container, style, and border settings. Now we'll add a border by clicking on solid and this drop down. And then currently the border width is linked. This little icon here means that if I type anything in here, if I type in 100, all of these will be 100. Now, if I was to get rid of that and I was to click the unlink button here, you can see these are all now separate. So if I put in 100 on the top, I can put in then 50 on the bottom, and they're not linked to each other. They're separate now. If you wanted to change all of your padding at the same time, you can use that link feature and it will link them all together. But if you only want to change, say, one, which in our case, we only want to change the top one, you can unlink them and then say a border of 3 or 4. Let's make it white like theirs. Now, if we update that and go back, you can see that we have only a top border here. There's no side white borders. So this is looking much better, but we still need something for our homepage. Now's where it starts to get fun. We're still editing our footer here. To leave the footer editing section, we can click on the 3 lines at the top left and then exit. When this pops up, you can just click on apply or decide later. That's just where it will exit to. And what we're going to do now is we're going to add our homepage. So our homepage we'll be copying is this one here. On every page on this website, they will have the header and the footer will be the same. So that's why we created them first, because they will be on each page of our website and we won't have to create them again. To edit the middle section here of the page, we're going to create a whole new page, which will be our home page. So go back to your WordPress dashboard here, click on pages on the left and add a new page. Where it says add title, we can just type in home. Then instead of editing with the default WordPress editor, which is this here with the blocks and the styling on the right, we're going to click on edit with Elementor. And now we're back in our Elementor editor. If we look at our demo page, you can see it starts off with a hero section here. Inside of that hero image, there's a small heading, a big heading, some text, and 2 buttons. So we're going to recreate that layout by going back to our website editor. And first off, we're going to hide this home here. To do that, click on the settings icon in the very bottom left, the small little cog, and then under this hide title option here, select hide. We now have a fully blank canvas to play with. So let's publish that change. And Because you've gotten the general idea of editing, we will now use a template. So let's click on the template button here instead of the plus. And on this category dropdown, we can select between a whole bunch of different options, like a call to action or a FAQ section or a gallery section. And we want a hero section for our top part. So I'm going to look for one that is the most similar to this one here, with a big heading, some text, and a button or two. This one here has a very similar design of some text and a big heading, some more text, and a button. So I'll click on Insert, and you can see that has inserted this template onto our website. Now, the hero is very large here. We probably don't want it that big. So what we'll do is we'll click on the little selector icon, and then change this minimum height and just drag that down to be about half of what it was. It's worth doing some research on all of these different responsive options, but I'm not going to cover that in this video because that's a little more in depth. Let's change our background image. You can see they have an image behind all of this text here. To do that, we click on our selector icon and style. So we're editing the style of this container here. And you can see there's already a blank image in there. We'll change that by clicking on the choose image and then upload some files and select files. Now, when you add files to your website, they should never be over 2000 pixels by 2000 pixels. So if your images are more than that, even less than that, I would recommend keeping your images for your website between 900 pixels and 1200. That should be big enough. And the reason for this is because if your images are too big, it will actually slow down your website. So you want to keep your images small, but then if they're too small, they'll lose quality. Now, usually I would also rename all of these images to be a relevant keyword for the business that is also relevant to the image. This is more advanced, but it's for SEO purposes. For this demo example, I'm not going to bother doing all that. So select your image, or you can select multiple images by holding down Command or Control and clicking on the images. Once you've selected some, click on Open. This will upload our images to WordPress. Also, for SEO purposes, I would usually add a relevant alt text here for each image, but for this demo video, I'm not going to do that. Once your image has been uploaded, select one to go behind the hero, so click on the select option, and the one you're selecting has a blue border around it. If I was to click on this one, it will change to that, but I want this one as the example, and select. There's now an image behind our text. And you can change the image where it's positioned by, in the container style, you can change this position. If I was to set that to center or to bottom center, it will move where the image is looking. So I'll leave that as center for now, but our text is really hard to read. So to fix this, you can do two things. You can change this text color here to white, but that still might not fix it because then it would be hard to read on this section here. So the best option here is to click on the background overlay. And what this is it's a layer in between our background image and our text that we can add a color on. So if I select the brush icon here under the background overlay settings and just a random color like our white, you can see suddenly our text is a lot easier to read. You can change how much of the overlay will come through with this slider. So you can fully block out the image, or you can just block out a little bit. But in this case, I'm actually going to change it to our blue color and then change our text here to be white. So now to change the text, we just click on the text we want to edit and then the style and change that to our white. Same thing with these ones. And I'm actually going to change our overlay to a gray color. Now this is looking very similar now with our hero section. So to add a second button here, if we wanted to do that, like theirs, we can right click our button and select duplicate. Now we have two buttons, but their buttons are in a row and not a column. Because our buttons aren't in a separate container, they're in the main one. If they were in a container, we would be able to select the container and then select row. The easiest way is we can add in a container. So click your 9 dots and then drag a container in just above the buttons. Put both of these buttons here inside of your new container there. You can see our buttons here are inside of its own custom container. Click on the container settings and select row. And now they're in a row, but they're not in the middle. So now select center. And when we preview our website, we now have 2 buttons in a row in the center. And to change our buttons color, so one button's white and one button's orange, you can click on the settings, style, and change the text color, the background color, and the border color. So I'll show you how to replicate this first button, and then the second one I'll also show you at the end. It's got white text and a white border. Let's change the border color here to be white. And then to get rid of this blue background when we're not hovering, you can select the normal status and the color here. Click on the color and then drag this transparency slider all the way down to 0. And now we have a white button with a transparent background. And then if you wanted to change the colors on hover, you can click on the hover settings and do that there. This button we will just change to be orange. So click on that button, style, and then under color, change to orange. You can change the border color, but I'm just going to get rid of it altogether. So our hero section's done, and it looks very similar when we switch between. Let's move on to the next section, which is a section with a list of services. So to add the next section, we will click on the template and we will look through the categories here. This services category here, you can see there's one that has a wireframe template, or there's this one here as well. And on our demo website, that seems very similar. I will import this one. And again, you can custom build these if you prefer by manually using the Elementor containers, but this is much quicker. We have the different options here. To remove some of this spacing here, because it's a very large gap, we can click on the settings selector for the whole container and then advanced. And you can see it has 5% padding all around it. So I'm actually going to unlink these because the left and the right are fine. They've got a good amount of padding, but the top and the bottom have maybe a little bit too much. I'm going to select the top and remove the padding altogether from that container. And the bottom, I'll remove that too. And now you can see there's a little bit less spacing on those two. I'm also going to change it because this template here has a minimum height of the whole screen. I don't want that. I'm going to change that to be a minimum of 70% of the screen, 75%. So now you could go in here and change all your texts and what all of these say. I will do that without the recording because I don't want to waste your time, but you just change the images by going into each one of these and selecting the image and changing that. And then same with the headings and text and the buttons. And again, if you wanted to add in the words here, for example, you can go back to your 9 dots, drag in the text editor, and then there's your words, and you can align them by going to style and center. So now that looks much more like our demo site. If you wanted to change these 3 here to 6 core purpose areas, what we can do is we can right click this whole container that holds all of these and click on duplicate. And now we have 6 core services. You can also see this is the navigator I was talking about at the very start of the video. And now that there's elements on here, you can use that to find a specific element. So if we had this button here, you can see it highlights that. And sometimes it's a bit hard to drag that button to a specific spot. So if we were trying to drag it, say, in between the two our services, you can see it's very touchy to get it in that spot there. So instead, we can drag the button on this navigator like that, and you can see it's now in between the 2 headings. So that can be helpful to use. You can also right click and copy and paste from there and align it on the right here like that, or you can have it floating around on your website, or you can close it all together and then reopen it using this little icon in the bottom left. To add our map section, we'll scroll down, click on the plus, flexbox, and theirs is 2 main sections, so left and right. So we'll select that, and we will select the 9 dots, drag in a heading, and we'll drag in some text as well. And then we'll select the 9 dots again and search for map. And there's a Google Map embed. We'll add some space like they have at the top and the bottom to the whole section. Click on the selector, click on advanced, click on padding, and we'll unlink them because we only want to add top and bottom. So we'll add, say, a percentage value of 3 to the top and the bottom. And then I'll just add in some more text here. And if we wanted our map to take up a little bit more space, now that there's more text, we can click on the map and you can change your address in this field here, but you can also change how far it's zoomed in and how high the map is. So let's make that about 380. Now it takes up a lot more of the box space. If we click on update on the bottom left now and go back to our website and refresh the page, you might notice that nothing has actually changed, which you might be going, oh no, where are all my changes gone? But we haven't set our home page to be the default page. To set that, we'll go back to our Elementor and we will click on the 3 lines and then exit. And we'll go right back out by clicking on the little icon, then settings and reading. Now these are your WordPress settings. So we'll change the homepage display to a static page and we will select the home page next to the home page option here. Then click on Save Changes. And now when we go back to our website and we'll refresh the page again, you can see our changes have updated and our page is live. This is some great progress we're making. I'll quickly show you how to make a contact page and an about page, just briefly, some core elements. And then once we've got those 2 pages, I will show you the menu for here and for the bottom, and I will finish up the video. So go back to our backend, go to your pages on the left and add new. Let's add our about page next. Then click on edit with Elementor. And again, we will go to settings and hide our title. That's now a fully blank canvas. For this example, I'm not actually going to go through and design it now because you know how all of that works. So what we'll do is we'll add a template and there's a whole page template here. If you click on that pages tab and then search for about, you can see there is a template there and you can click on apply the settings and the style of that page, or you can not apply that. So I'll just click apply for this example. We now have a about us layout that is a wireframe, and you can go and add images and text and change these, and you can still add a new section anywhere on the page by clicking the plus and then adding your own or adding a template. I will leave this default page for now and I will click on publish, and we'll now go back to our 3 lines and exit and back to the WordPress pages section by clicking on the little icon in the very top left and adding new page. Lucky last is the contact, and edit with Elementor. Now again, we'll hide our title by doing settings and turning on the hide title option. Then we'll click on our template and we'll search the pages templates because it's a whole page for contact. And I like this contact page here with a map and a contact form. So we'll insert that one and we'll apply the style. We now have a contact us page with a form, and you can edit the form fields here by clicking on these and changing what they say, adding new ones, and you can change where they go. So when people submit the form, if it goes to an email address or to a Discord server or a MailChimp account, you can edit all your contact details. And remember, you can also change your headings, fonts, and colors. So if I wanted to change this heading here to my brand fonts, we would click on the heading, then style, and then under typography, we would change this little globe to be, say, H1 or H2, then that's now our styles that we've set. Same with any text on the page. You go to style, you can change the color, you can change the typography to your brand's looks. Once you finish editing all your page styles and changing all the information, you can click on publish. And now we have a few pages for our menu. To add our menu, we actually have to add our menu in WordPress before we can add it in Elementor. To add the pages as a menu, we'll go back to our 3 lines and then exit and back to the dashboard. Go to appearance and menus. Let's add a menu here, and you can call it whatever you like by typing in this menu name, then select header or footer. This doesn't really matter with Elementor, but with some other themes, this can change where your menu's shown. And if you want to automatically add all pages you add to your website to this menu, you can select this option here. But I don't recommend doing that because you can manually add them at any time. Then click on create menu. We're going to click on the left side here. We want to view all of our pages. So we're going to add all 3 pages and click on add to menu. And now our home, about, and contact pages are all in the menu. And you can drag to reorder these, and you can make them sub items as well. But for this example, I'll just leave them all as they are and select save menu. Now, if you went back to your website and refreshed, it still wouldn't show the menu, or it would show them as not very nicely laid out. So to fix that, what we'll do is we'll go back to our WordPress dashboard, hover over the template section, and then go to theme builder. And we're going to edit our header. So click on the header, then this little edit pencil. And now on our demo website, their menu is in white and it's on the left aligned with the logo. So ours is aligned with the logo, but it's hard to read. We'll click our menu, click on style, and we'll change the text color to white. And when we hover over our menu, we get this funny little border. So to turn that off or change that, if you click on the hover settings, you can turn off the pointer color to be transparent, and now that won't show. Now I'm going to make this block here a little bit thinner. To do that, we can go to the vertical padding, and I'm going to set it to about 2. And now our blue bar is a lot thinner. If we click on update and go back to our website, then refresh the page, you can see we now have our fully functioning header, our full website here. We'll have to fix this menu here, but all of these will now take us to the correct pages. So to change our menu on the footer, we can go back to our website, and when we hover over our footer, we can now edit it straight from here. If we click on that little icon, we'll now be editing our footer and not the header. We want to change this menu in the footer to be in a column form like this. Select the menu. We will change the layout from horizontal to vertical, and we want it to be the same on all devices for this footer. So select the mobile dropdown and select none, and that means that even on a mobile phone, the menu will always be out like this and not in a little drop down. Next, we will turn off the underline when you hover over by selecting this pointer and making that none. Now there's no underline. Then to remove this bit of space by clicking the left alignment and then going into style and setting the horizontal padding to 0. And you can also adjust the vertical padding if you would like to. Now I'm going to change these to be white again. So select the text color and white, then select update. Now on our website, if we refresh, you can see our little links here are fixed. The last thing that I'm going to go over when editing a page is how to make your website device responsive. So responsive for a tablet or a mobile phone as well. To check this, we'll go back to our Elementor settings. I'll check the home page for this demo. You can go back doing your exit here, or you can do Command or Control E, and you can search for any page that is using Elementor. So the home page is using Elementor, so we can use that search there. The website looks great on desktop and laptop, but how do we check on tablet and mobile? So to check and edit tablet and mobile versions, we can click on this little device responsive mode on the bottom, and that will bring up this bar here. This lets us select between mobile and tablet and preview what the website will look like. So if I click on mobile here, you can see our header looks very confusing and messy, and there's a few small things on our home page that we could change. I'll start with the home page since we're already on it, and I want to add some spacing above this on the mobile version. So I'll click on the whole container selector and then advanced, and you can see there's a little icon next to padding, and that's the little mobile icon. So this means that if I edit this setting, it will only change on the mobile version and not all the other versions like the desktop. Whereas these settings down here don't have that. It's worth noting, if the setting you're changing doesn't have an icon next to it, it will change it on all versions of the website. This is also true if I was to just drag the whole text box here down like this, that will change it on all versions of the website and not just the mobile. We'll click on our select item and we'll unlink the padding, and we'll put back the ones on the left and the right. And then on the top, I also want to add, say, 2%, and on the bottom. Now we have a little bit of space on the top and bottom. So you can go through and change your mobile settings here, and then click on the tablet icon up here. And this will now preview it on a tablet size screen. And again, you can change the layout. You can't just go in and delete text on only the tablet, but what you can do is you can either hide the whole section of text by clicking on the element, selecting advanced, and then going down to responsive and turning off the option on tablet. And then if someone on a tablet was to read your website, it would look like this, but that's not particularly helpful because then they don't get to see that section of text. So in general, I would avoid doing that unless it's not an important part of the website. Instead, we could align this map in the middle. To do that, select the container that the map is in and select Justify Center. And now it will just put the map in the middle. As another example, I'll show you how to update the header on mobile. Just quickly update that, all your changes, and then go to this header tab and click on that. And we're now editing the header. And you can tell that because we can click in on these elements. So let's make the menu easier to see by making the 3 lines white. Select the drop down, click on Style, and under the toggle button, that's what this is, we will change the color to white. And there we go. Now on mobile, we'll have to do some changes because this looks very messy. So what I might do on mobile is I would center this whole section here. To do that, we will click on the main selector and we'll actually select the direction as vertical. And you can see that that is just for the mobile. And then we'll justify the content in the center. And usually this would put them all in a straight line, but because we made some changes to the individual items inside of these, we'll have to change that as well. So click on the logo and then click Style. And under alignment, you can see that that's on the left. Let's put that in the center for mobile. I'm actually going to hide this book button on mobile because there's a phone number and most people on a phone will call the business and not fill out a form. So to do that, we'll go to our Advanced tab after clicking on the button and then go down to Responsive and hide on mobile. Turn that on and you'll still be able to see it, but it will be grayed out. So when you're on the actual live site, it will hide it. Now we'll align this one in the center as well. So click on the icon box, click on Style for the alignment settings and center. I've also put it on the right side when I was editing the container here. So we'll have to align it in the center with this container as well. So go to the container settings and under this justify content, select center. And lucky last, we'll do the same thing for this drop down menu for the second section. So click on the section settings and select center. Now, if we preview our website by clicking this little arrow on the left, you can see that everything's center aligned and that looks a lot cleaner than before. And we could even make the icon a bit smaller so it doesn't take up as much space by clicking on the icon and changing the icon settings here. And you can see size has a phone next to it, so that's editable on just the phone. So let's make that a bit smaller. If I preview, that's a lot cleaner now. Once you've finished making all your edits, you can close this responsive mode and click on update, and all your website changes should all be live. Now, although this video covered the basics of Elementor editing and WordPress, I highly recommend, once you have learnt the general practical side of Elementor and WordPress and built a few demo websites that you don't always build like I've just shown you. Usually what I would recommend would be to go to a website like ThemeForest or somewhere where you can buy Elementor templates. So on ThemeForest, they have Elementor template kits, and there's heaps and heaps of pre-built templates. And this is like most websites would use a theme, but they are very customizable. So you can change everything about them. I would recommend you usually use one of these or something similar and start off with that, and then edit the template kit to be more like your business. So maybe if it didn't have the 3 core areas that we added, or the 6 core areas, you could add in this section here on the template kit. This will save you a lot of time instead of building out each thing individually. But when you're brand new to Elementor, it's worth doing to learn how to use Elementor so you can do those little finicky changes. Another option you can use if you don't have your own website to practice on, you can go to playground.elementor.com, and this will create your own little demo website to practice using the Elementor Flexbox. So it's got a little tutorial about how to change the direction of the blocks, and you can go through and follow all the lessons. This is helpful, and it's a good little environment to just practice getting used to Elementor and how it all works. That's all for today's video. I hope this helped you, and if you do have any questions, please let me know in the comments below.